Hey, how's it going, guys? Today we will provide a balanced training program that incorporates stabilization, strength, and power exercises for an athlete that suffered a left lateral ankle sprain. Through balanced stabilization endurance, there will be little to no joint movement within the balanced leg. This portion of the OPT model will look to enhance reflective joint stabilization in order to improve joint stability. Table 1 depicts day 1 of balanced stabilization endurance training, where we will utilize a single leg march, a single leg arm and leg reach, a single leg sagittal plus frontal reach, and a single leg slider circle. Reps will include 10, sets will be 2, the exercise will be performed in a slow and controlled tempo. The rest interval in between sets will be of 30 seconds, and this should be repeated 2 times a week for a total of 4 weeks. The first exercise includes a single leg march. As you can see, the athlete depicts that there should be activation of the core, activation of the glutes, activation of the lower back musculature to maintain proper stability through the exercise. He starts off by putting hands at the hip and from there progresses onto the exercise. As we can see, there's little to no movement on the stability leg, yet the contralateral leg goes into hip flexion and back down in a nice and controlled tempo. The left side, the stability leg, holds an isometric contraction all throughout. And this was repeated for a total of 10 reps and 2 sets, with a rest interval of 30 seconds in between each set. The second exercise includes a single leg arm and leg reach, where the athlete will maintain proper lumbopelvic hip complex activation and stability all throughout, while sustaining an isometric contraction at the left lower extremity. As we can see here, there's ipsilateral shoulder flexion and contralateral hip extension occurring. This was repeated for a total of 10 reps, for 2 sets, with a rest interval of 30 seconds in between each set. The exercise should be carried out 2 times per week for a total of 4 weeks. The third exercise will include a single leg sagittal plus frontal reach, where the athlete will hold an isometric contraction through that lower left extremity. He will have the knee in a slightly bent position, hands on hip, and from there, start the movement, going into a sagittal reach, going into a lateral reach, again sagittal and lateral in that frontal plane, while sustaining that isometric contraction from the ankle to the knee to the hip on that left side. The athlete should maintain adequate lumbopelvic hip complex stability through the exercise and, most importantly, stabilizing that left lower extremity. The exercise was carried out for 10 reps, 2 sets, with a 30-second rest interval in between each set. The fourth exercise includes a single leg slider circle, where the athlete will hold an isometric contraction in that left lower extremity with a slightly bent knee. He will start with hands on the hips, bending that knee, and from there, going in a clockwise direction to produce those circles. The isometric contraction on the left side will be held all throughout the exercise, while proper stability of that lumbopelvic hip complex is advised. The athlete will carry out this movement for 10 reps, 2 sets, with a 30-second rest interval in between each set. Moving on to balance strength, exercises will involve eccentric and concentric movements of the balanced leg through a full range of motion. These exercises will look to enhance neuromuscular efficiency throughout the human movement system. The second table depicts day 1 of balanced strength training, where we will utilize 3 different exercises, those being a single leg box squat, a forward lunge to balance, a lateral step up to balance, for 12 reps, 2 sets, with a medium tempo of 3, 2, 1, and including adequate rest of 60 seconds in between each set. Exercises will be repeated 2 times per week for a total of 4 weeks. The first exercise includes a single leg box squat, where the athlete starts off by engaging the lumbo-pelvic hip complex and soon after placing hands on the hips in order to start the movement, where the hips are brought down slowly onto the box and back up. As the athlete starts the down phase, we can see the knee going into flexion, and on the up phase, back into a controlled extension. This exercise was produced for a total of 12 reps, for 2 sets, with a 60-second rest interval in between. Box height may be adjusted to either increase or decrease the level of difficulty of such exercise. The second exercise involves a forward lunge to balance, where the athlete will sustain proper lumbo-pelvic hip complex stability and activation through the exercise. He will start off by placing hands on hip and progressing on to the actual lunge and then a single leg balance. The athlete will once again produce this motion, and as we can see here, there's a dynamic motion at the lunge portion and an isometric contraction with the single leg balance. This was carried out for a total of 12 reps, 2 sets, with a medium tempo and including 60 seconds of rest in between each set. Such exercise should be repeated 2 times per week for a total of 4 weeks. The third exercise involves a lateral step-up, which will be produced in the frontal plane. The athlete will continue to hold proper lumbo-pelvic hip complex stability throughout the exercise. The athlete starts off with hands on the hips and steps up with the left lower extremity. As the athlete goes up, he maintains proper stability at that left lower extremity while enhancing that dynamic neuromuscular efficiency. This exercise was produced for a total of 12 reps for 2 sets, with a 60-second rest interval in between each set. As we transition onto balance power, exercises will involve hopping from one foot onto another or simply hopping on that same foot. These exercises will look to augment eccentric strength, dynamic neuromuscular efficiency, and reactive joint stabilization. The third table depicts day 1 of balance power training, where a single leg hop in the sagittal plane, single leg hop in the frontal plane, and single leg box hop up in the sagittal plane will be utilized. For the single leg hop series, reps will account for 12, 6 per side, for a total of 2 sets with a controlled tempo, holding for 3 seconds. For the single leg box hop up, reps will account for 10, sets will account for 2, and tempo will be the same, controlled with a 3-second hold. Adequate rest should be provided in between each set, that being 60 seconds. Exercises should be carried out 2 times per week for a total of 4 weeks. The first exercise includes a single leg hop in the sagittal plane, where the athlete will hold proper lumbo-pelvic hip complex stability as he sticks the landing. He will start off by walking up to the marker, which will place 3 feet apart. From there, hops and stabilizes in a controlled tempo. Holds for 1, 2, 3, back 1, 2, 3, and back 1, 2, 3. This was carried out for a total of 12 reps for 2 sets with a 60-second rest interval in between each set. The second exercise includes a single leg hop produced in the frontal plane. Markers were set 3 feet apart, where the athlete will jump in a lateral right and left direction. The athlete starts off the movement by loading, hopping, sticking the landing for a total of 1, 2, 3 seconds, and repeating. This was carried out for a total of 12 reps, 2 sets, in a controlled tempo with adequate recovery in between, that being 60 seconds in between each set. The third exercise involves a single leg box hop up in the sagittal plane, where the athlete will start the movement by facing the 6-inch box and from there prepping the body for the exercise to come. He will load at the left lower extremity, hop on, and stabilize for a total of 3 seconds. This exercise was carried out for a total of 10 reps, 2 sets, with 60 seconds of rest in between each set. Difficulty of such exercise may be increased or decreased by adjusting the height of the box. I would like to give a special thanks to NASM for providing us with such great protocols that would allow us to produce this video, and to you, the viewer, for tuning in.